guys, it's Ariana. Welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, we're going to be reading some more scary stories. As per usual, I have my wicked candle in here, setting the mood with caramel apples, and I have my hot chocolate candle going, and it smells so good. I have a couple Reddit posts that I want to read, and then I have a couple DMs and I have a couple emails. I'm not too sure how many I'm going to get to. I have quite a few, but I'm really excited. So let's just jump on into the spooky stories. So the first one is from the Reddit user. It's just like a bunch of random letters, and then it's something happy. So I will list their name down below in my description so you guys can go check out their other stories. But this one doesn't have a title because they actually left it as a comment on something, and this was on the thread, "What is the strangest thing that happened to you that you can't logically explain?" And they said, "I've had so many strange things happen to me that I can't logically explain. I couldn't pick just one. So two of the weirdest and scariest are these ones. 1. Sorry, this is a bit long. For some background, when I was younger, around 16 or 17, I would spend most of the summer break at my grandparents' house taking care of my great-grandma while they were out of town. She wasn't able to be left alone, and I loved spending time with her and helping her out. We would spend most of the time watching Ghost Hunters on demand, since it was one of my favorite shows, and she was always for watching new shows with me. Throughout the show, she would comment on everything. Look, they found a ghostie. But she was always skeptical at the end, saying, that couldn't happen. Ghosts aren't real. When you die, that's it. You just go to heaven. I would always reply, well, Grandma, how would you know that? You're still alive. To that, she'd say, well, when I die, I'll let you know. About 2 years later in 2011, while I was home from college for Thanksgiving break, my great-grandmother passed away at the age of 93. I was heartbroken. After her funeral, I went back to school and I tried to carry on the best that I could. After a month later, I was watching TV in my dorm room. My roommate and my suite mates had all gone home for the weekend, and I stayed to take advantage of the silence. I'd been channel surfing for most of the night, and I came across a show about ghost hunting. I watched it for a bit and decided to change the channel, but the remote had suddenly stopped working. I replaced the batteries in the remote with brand new ones straight out of the box. Still wouldn't work. Finally, I decided to unplug the TV. Oddly enough, the TV was still on. At this, I suddenly felt a chill down my spine, and the hanging blinds, which were drawn closed with the window closed and locked, began to ripple and move. Mind you, everything in the room was shut and locked up tight. Nothing could have been making those blinds move like that. I was standing in the middle of the room, a bit scared at all this, but I also felt an overwhelmingly sense of comfort and familiarity. Grandma, I said, while holding back tears, I know it's you. Thank you for letting me know you're here, but you're kind of scaring me. Can you please stop? And suddenly, everything stopped. The blinds were still and the TV shut off. Nothing like that has ever happened again in that room. After a year later, I switched schools and moved in with my grandparents. I slept in my great-grandma's old room, and one night, I would hear her say, "Angel," in my ear. While I was asleep, or half asleep, I could feel her hand stroking my hair, and I would feel so safe and comforted. Number 2. This is an ongoing story, so if anything new happens, I will update. In July of 2020, I started working at this gift shop at an old copper mine. During the tourist, spring, summer, fall season, we were really busy, even with the pandemic. But during the winter season, it's pretty dead. Most days, it's just me doing inventory, taking care of online orders, and updating the website. So on one of those days, where the sun goes down at 4 p.m., I'm working on getting ready for inventory, organizing things, and moving stuff around. Usually, I don't stay past 5 p.m. since it just gives me the creeps to be here all alone at night. But this night, I was feeling pretty brave, telling myself that I'd stay until 6:30 in order to get stuff done. Shortly after this out loud remark, I heard creaking overhead and proceed to blame it on the wind. After about 5 minutes later, a loud thump startled me from my work, and I instinctively looked up to where the sound came from. 2 seconds later, I heard loud footsteps, like someone with work boots on walking around above me. I checked the door to the upstairs directly behind me, and it was locked from my side. No one could have gone up there and locked the door behind them, and I was the only one with a key that could get into that building. Suddenly, I could hear men's voices above me, and then a man's laugh. I decided that I wasn't staying till 6:30 p.m. after all, and left rather quickly. I yelled, "Have a good night, guys, sorry to bother you," and locked up the shop. I've taken some advice from people. They've told me that I should acknowledge them and just be nice to them. So now, I yell, "Good morning, fellas," when I walk in, and "Great job today, guys. I'll see you tomorrow" at night when I leave. I've noticed that's not as active at night, and I don't feel something's out to get me. And then when I hear voices or thumps, I just yell, "Try to keep it down up there," and it goes away. And that's like their entire comment. So that's fucking insane. That's so scary. Oh my God, I don't like the fact that you hear like men's voices upstairs when you're all alone. That's so fucking creepy. Oh my God. So I have another one that I want to read from the same author. So this one is titled, Who or What Was Trying to Break In? So this is like an update to all of their stories. To start, these stories take place at my great-grandma's house on my mom's side, an old farmhouse. It has since been sold, as well as most of the farmland they owned after my great-grandma passed away. This house and all of the barns and farmland are located not quite in the middle of nowhere, but pretty close. To enter the house, you would come through a screen door to the mudroom, and to the left were the stairs to the cellar. Then the second metal door opened up to the kitchen. The dining room was to the right, and the living room was to the right of that. The main floor had one bedroom, my great-grandparents' room off the living room, and upstairs there were 3 bedrooms and an attic space. During the holidays when we were little, my cousins, brother, and I would play upstairs in the room and jump on the beds while the adults stayed downstairs to cook and watch football. My great-grandparents had 4 kids, 14 grandchildren, and 35 great-grandchildren, so it was always a full house. During one of our family Christmas parties, us older kids were sitting on one of the beds in the white room. This room had white walls, white bed sheets, white curtains, and a white closet. My back was to the closet, and we were just talking about random things that kids talk about, when all of a sudden, the closed closet door, which was always closed because it was an old door and it was so hard to open and close, slowly creaked open, and we all stopped talking at the sound of the door and turned to look at it. Once the door handle softly touched the wall, it quickly slammed shut, and all of us jumped from the bed and took off down the stairs to our parents. We all started yelling and trying to tell everyone what had happened all at once, so my dad ran upstairs to check on the closet. They searched the whole upstairs and they found nothing. They just told us that it was probably just really drafty up there since it was such an old house. But all of us kids know what we saw. Another story happened after my great-grandpa died. My great-grandma was starting to have trouble getting around by herself, especially at night, and family members would volunteer to stay with her and help her out. In the summertime, after I graduated high school, I stayed with my great-grandma at night and on the weekends to give my grandma a break. One night, I couldn't sleep, so I was just watching TV on the couch outside of my great-grandma's room when all of a sudden, something started pounding on the window behind me. I jumped, and I turned to look out the window where the pounding started. Then it started pounding at the window across the living room. Then it was at the front door, which was sealed shut. Then the pounding was in the dining room window, then the kitchen window, and then there was pounding at the back door, and all of a sudden, I heard the sound of someone jiggling the handle, trying to open the door, which was luckily locked. This went on for about 5 minutes, going from window to window, back to the door. Finally it stopped, and I could slowly try to relax. The next day, I told my grandma about it when she came over to relieve me in the morning. My great-grandma didn't hear anything at night. My grandma called my cousin, and they came over and checked around the house and couldn't find anything weird, except for the perfect imprint of 2 muddy work boots on the rug at the back door. The last story is a little shorter, but a bit more scary. My great-grandma had been living in an assisted living home when it became too much for her to live on her own, and my mom's cousin and her family moved into the farmhouse. After my great-grandma had passed years later, and the cousins moved out of the house, my grandma and aunt were over at the farmhouse to clean out my great-grandma and grandpa's old furniture that had been stored in the attic. I was over helping them go through the stuff and carrying things downstairs. For as long as I can remember, I always had a weird feeling about the attic. It was the first door at the top of the stairs, and the door was always closed. But I could never shake the feeling that something was just on the other side of the door, waiting. Well, this day, I was walking in and out of the attic, helping my grandma and aunt go through my great-grandparents' things. At some point, my grandma had gone downstairs with my aunt to load something to her car, and I was left alone. It was freezing in the attic, despite the rest of the house being warm and it being summertime. I was looking around the attic and I noticed a shadow from the corner of my eye dart behind the old dresser in the corner of the attic. As I walked toward the dresser, thinking it was some kind of small animal, fear raced through me and the hair on the back of my neck stood up. I stood frozen, staring at the dresser, when a low rumble came from behind the dresser, like a growl from a dog. So I ran down the stairs as fast as I could, almost breaking my legs in the process. I ran outside to my grandma and aunt, who were still trying to organize my aunt's car. My grandma asked me what was wrong as I stood there, doubled over and panting, my heart still racing. I told them what had happened, and they both tried to say I was imagining things and it must have been the house settling, but they both looked a little shaken up too. After the house was all cleaned up, it went on the market and sold a while after. I hope the new owners can deal with whatever was left behind. And that's all they said. Holy crap, that is so much activity in that one house. Holy crap, that is so scary. I would not have been able to calm down after like the banging on the windows and door and like the door handle rattling and stuff. I'm stupid and I probably would have went outside because fuck that. You're gonna be in my house, running around my house, banging on my windows and doors. Screw you. I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna see what the fuck you want and then probably die. So I don't recommend that, but like I said, I'm kind of dumb and, well, you know what? I'd probably send like my dad out or like my boyfriend. So the next one that I'm gonna read is from the Glitch in the Matrix section, and it is from the Reddit author dismal_ad2432, and it's titled, Baby Called Me From His Crib While in Bed With Me. Yesterday morning, my son, who is 1.5, woke up in his crib yelling, Mama. My husband got up and brought the baby back to bed with us, and all three of us were laying in bed together when we heard him say, Mama, from the crib again. All three of us were in bed together. My husband and I both heard it, clear as day. I seem to be the only one super creeped out by the fact that a demon child said Mama from my son's crib. Was my son lagging, or should I call a priest? Details. We have an Arlo camera in his bedroom. This did not capture any footage. The only way to view the live footage is from our phones, which were off and charging, and we have an Arlo link to the Alexa Echo show that is in the kitchen. We were hoping that the live view was pulled up on the Alexa because there is time discrepancy. Alexa was completely off. We also do not have any toys that could have mimicked that. And that's all they said. So they're more of just like asking like, what the fuck was that? How did my son call to me when he was literally in bed with me? That's terrifying. I hate that so much. Oh my gosh. The next one that I'm gonna read is from the True Scary Story section, and it's from the Reddit author 0jumble_tumble0, and it's titled Person at My Window. This is when I was about 6 or 7 years old. I used to live in a 2-story house with my grandparents and my dad. I usually slept downstairs with my dad, but I had a room upstairs next to my sister's room. Most nights were normal, but a few weeks, it was very different. It was an average night, no wind, no rain. It was just about midnight when I heard the metal roofing next to my window creak. I thought it was a bird at first, but they started to sound heavier, like footsteps. Over time, they got right next to the window, and I saw a dim light shine through the mesh on the outside of the glass. I'd watched a lot of creepy ghost videos at the time, so I thought it was an orb or a spirit. This occurred throughout the week. I told my dad, but he didn't believe me. So one night, I gained the courage to yell at it. All I said was, I know you're there, go away. I heard the footsteps run off the edge of the roofing and land on the grass below. At that age, I thought it was a ghost, but now I realized it was something even scarier, a person. So they just had like a fucking like frogger on their roof. Oh my God, I think that's the right word. They just had like somebody literally frogging in their house. That's so fucking creepy. I hate that so much. Oh my God, thank you so much for allowing me to read your story. That's so fucking creepy. I hope they don't ever come back because that's terrifying. Holy shit. The next one that I want to read is from the Short Scary Story section, and it's from the Reddit author Forgotten Well, and it's titled Soul Jumping. I'm going to put a trigger warning here for death. It's a short scary story, so I don't believe this is a true story, so this is just like a fictional story, but I'm going to put a trigger warning for death because it does mention it a couple times. The first time I died, I was 13 years old playing Super Smash Bros. Melee in Trent Allen's basement. I had just beat him for the 4th time in a row, and he was starting to get pissed off. You're a frickin' cheat. You're just bad. Next game decides the real winner. I mopped the floor with him. Trent was furious. At that moment, I did something very stupid. I jumped up and busted out my cringiest victory dance, all while singing I Always Win in my best falsetto. Trent got up and shoved me head first into the television. I was a fragile kid, and I smashed my head into the TV. It was more than enough to end me. Then something extraordinary happened, something I can't explain. I opened my eyes and I was in the bathroom I had never seen before. I looked in the mirror and I recognized the face, only it wasn't my face. It was Billy Baker, the kid who lived up the street. As best as I can tell, when I died, my soul jumped out of my body into his, pushing out Billy and leaving me in charge. Billy's mom knocked at the door and said, hurry, or we're going to be late. Late for what? I replied. The funeral. My funeral. Kinda surreal seeing your own dead body. Kinda worse that my murderer was there. He told his parents I tripped. His story was fake, but his tears were real. It's not easy killing someone for the first time. What pissed me off was that everyone was so sorry for Trent. So I decided to do something very stupid. I went over to Trent when he was all alone and said, maybe if you could play Smash better, he wouldn't be dead. I winked at him and walked away. I wanted him to feel like he was being haunted by me. I wanted to leave it at that. A few years later, while riding my bike, Trent ran me over with his car and fled the scene. Dead again, but not for the last time. Would you believe I soul jumped again? A new face, new part of town, but still alive. From then on, I was hunted by Trent. I still don't know how he was always tracking me down. It's like when I died, a piece of my soul got wedged into his, and he could always find me. Sometimes I'd make it a few months. Sometimes he'd kill me twice in a week. It went on for years. But one day, I woke up in a room that looked familiar, holding a pillow over someone's face. When I pulled the pillow away, I saw the last body I was inhabiting. I walked to the nearest mirror, and Trent was looking back at me. I had finally jumped into his body and kicked him out. I smiled into the mirror and said, "I told you I always win." And that's how they ended the story. Holy crap, that's so creepy. So that one's obviously like a fictional story, but that one is really well written, really fucking creepy, and I hate that so much. Oh my God, that gave me instant goosebumps. But thank you so much for allowing me to read your story. It was so good, and all of these stories were really amazing. I'm really loving that you guys are sending me your stories or allowing me to read your stories. I have a couple on Instagram that I still need to read, and then I have a couple emails that I need to read, but we're already at like the 18-minute mark, so I think this is where I'm gonna end the video here, because I need to edit this, upload this, and go to the gym tonight, and it's already 6 o'clock, so I have a lot of work to do tonight. So this is where I'm gonna end the video. I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you guys have any more spooky stories, paranormal stories, or just creepy stories in general that you guys would like to send me, please send me an email, or you can message me directly on Instagram, and I will definitely read your stories. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did enjoy this video, please make sure to give it a big thumbs up. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below for more content like this, and I will see you guys at the next video. Bye.